critical in this discovery of this mRNA?
The center of the discovery. He was driving the project.
mRNA. Tell me what that is.
Well,
listen, you got to talk to me like
I'm going to defer to my friend.
Yeah, y'all got to talk to me like
because
Kimberly
Kimberly
like a 5-year-old.
describes this in a perfect way.
Good. Talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old because you're not only talking to me, but you're talking to people of all age ranges right now and all economic and social backgrounds and educational backgrounds.
And so I think the first thing to know is the difference between DNA and RNA.
Right.
So I like to think of it as DNA is like your blueprint for your house, right? And RNA is like a contractor that kind of gives information about what to do so that the blueprint comes out okay. And so what happened is they mapped out what the virus looks like and found out that there are these specific proteins in the virus, one of which is called a spike protein. And I call the spike protein the gangster spike protein because that little gangster spike protein, that's the one that gets in your cell and makes you sick. And so this is what the technology did. This is so dope. So what they did was they said, what if we made a vaccine that was just an mRNA coding only for that little gangster spike protein? And what if we could introduce that into your body, right? And then have your body develop an immune response that then remembers and recognizes it when it actually gets the virus, right? And so the way that it works is I kind of like to think of it as your friends and your homies in your neighborhood, right? So you get this mRNA vaccine, right? It's wrapped up in this little lipid layer that gets it into your cell. Once it gets into your cell, this vaccine, it's the contractor. So it tells the cell, we're going to make these spikes. You start making the spikes, right? But then your body goes, whoa, wait a minute. This is not supposed to be here. Let me call security. Let me call in, all my people. And that is your immune response. So you have these cells called macrophages. They come in to swoop up the cell, but not before your body sends a message to some of these immune cells, like your T cells and your B cells, to create that memory so that when you see this virus come after you later, then you know what to do. So I kind of think of it like, when something happens later, you already got the vaccine and you have these antibodies waiting for something to pop off, and you got the T cells looking around to see what's happening. Then you get hit with COVID, right? But the T cells remember now. They have some memory, right? So they're going to sit back in the cut and be like, that is not who I think it is. And then the antibodies been waiting for something to pop off, and they're like, no. And they just rush. And that's really what happens. I mean, This is really what happens. So you are not getting the virus itself. You are getting the little contractor that comes in, tells you to make these spikes, right? You make those spikes, develop an immune response that is the immune response that gets rid of the actual virus. And the other part that people should remember that I think is really great is that when you get this little mRNA piece in you, it's like the UPS man. It comes in, it drops off the instructions, and then it bounces. So that's why we freeze it, and that's why it's so cold. We have to keep it at a certain temperature because that vaccine is not stable at certain temperatures. So once it gets in your body and does its job, boom, it's gone. So you get the instructions.
Hold on a second. Let me make sure I understand this. So you take the vaccine, it gives you the instruction on how to defeat the virus, and then whatever you took is no longer in your body?
Right. So remember, it's this little piece, this little code that the little contractor is telling you just how to make that little spike, right? And so once that gets into your body, it's not stable anymore, and then it sort of, it goes away, right?
Where does it go?
It's like broken down by enzymes. You want to break that down some more?
Yeah, it basically just is the nature. It just disappears. Once that mRNA, what that contractor gets into your cells and tells it, here's the code, and your cells start producing that mRNA just basically melts away, what we call denatures itself.
How do we know that it's safe?